Oh my goodness. Y'all know I own the rights to this. This is my man Yo Gotti. I'm finna try him out. My man said he owned his masters. So he said go ahead, you won't be violating his content. So we got a little Yo Gotti going in the background. I just heard I didn't know much about it. I don't really follow him like that, but I understand that he and Angela Simmons is no longer an item. He made that track. He was in love with Angela and all that kind of stuff. And well, let me turn this down. Hey, what's going on, man? I'm your host. I'm your host, New. This simple NEW, man. And I'd like to welcome you to another edition of No Fan Sports Podcast, man. No Fan Sports Podcast. That's what we do here. We talk about them sports, man. And as usual, like I said, we gonna go through the prelims, man, and make sure we do all this stuff the right way. We go through prelims and do this the right way. Just bear with me for a second. Bear with me for 1 second here while we get this stuff together. Where is it at? I got a little clip of the herd. My man Coward, I forget his full name, whatever. He got a guest, and I didn't catch the guest's name, but they were talking about naturally. You seen the title. We go touch on some of that Michigan stuff. We go touch on week 10, and we go touch on the Fugees and Lauryn Hill. We'll touch on that a little bit too. But anyway, let me do this first. Do this disclaimer. No Fan Sports Podcast is providing this podcast as a public service, but it is neither a legal interpretation nor a statement of No Fan Sports Podcast policy. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by No Fan Sports Podcast. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity that they represent. Views and opinions expressed by myself are those of my own and do not necessarily reflect the view of No Fan Sports Podcast or any of its officials. And also, fair use disclaimer, copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is the issue. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, so now we got that out the way. I always, I like to say this too, man. When you come join us in No Fan, man, I like, at some point you either look on my No Fan site on Facebook, or I might even have to post it on this mission statement or post it on one of the podcasts that I do. Go. Boy, these pets. Anyway, we like to not only talk about the stat sheets. We like to discuss the analytics, the metrics, but we like to talk a lot about the stuff that you can't put on the stat sheet. The things that don't get the check mark. The linemen that don't get credit for this, that, and the other thing. Their faces are covered or whatever the case may be. So just other aspects of a game or whatever it is that you may be watching, or individual sports or what have you. And today, like I said, we go touch on a few things. We go ahead and go in week 10. Like I said in my description, man, I this particular season, man, I've been really enjoying this NFL season, week 10. Got a lot of teams, even that I thought coming out the beginning of the year that they was in a rebuilding stage, such as Minnesota. I wasn't a big fan of Kirk Cousins when he was playing at Michigan State, but since he's arrived in the NFL, he's proved to be serviceable. probably one of the better quarterbacks out there. He killed them in the free agent game, not the free agent game, but the what's called that? The franchise tag game. Killed them with them franchise tags. It was ridiculous. On that note, who is this? Hold on 1 second. What was I saying? Kirk Cousins, Minnesota. And I just felt they was rebuilding. I'm a local product, born and raised in the D on the corner, Tuxedo and Webb and Tuxedo, Metropolitan Hospital. Only rock with every excuse me 1 second. Come on. Get over there. Over there. Come on. Come on, Jason. Come on. Come on. Come on, Mama. All right. Oh, lay down. Rock with all the Detroit teams except for the Detroit Lions, but we got to talk about them too because they're doing some things. They've been winning. I think they 7-2 or something like that. Like I said, week 10 has been phenomenal. We've been seeing a bunch of stuff that we haven't. Jason, leave it. Been seeing a bunch of things that we hadn't seen before, especially out of the Lions or what have you. They playing some good ball. Last night we had a Buffalo and Denver. Denver started out real slow. Everybody been questioning Russell Wilson, like where did he go? He haven't been the same person he's been since that interception in the Super Bowl. But they knocked off some giants. They knocked off the Buffalo Bills, knocked off the 49ers, played some, decent ball. Now I've said, when the Buffalo first took Josh Allen, I seen him. He was a little rough around the edges, but I seen what they seen in big arm, big guy, athletic. Can get around a little bit, get a big arm, like I said. But they finally, kind of controlled him a little bit, got him in order. But it looks like he's kind of, well, I'm going to put it like this. I kind of liken him to, I call him today's, modern day version of Brett Favre. He's a gambler. He do a lot of stuff. I think if I were one of the Buffalo coaches or their staff or the president or marketing or whatever the person that handles those things there for the organization, man, I see if they can get him to sit down with Peyton Manning because he need to calm down a little bit. He just be winging it just a little bit too much. I kind of like need to get him a sensei to calm it down a little bit. But they were one of the teams that was expected to do some things, right? So the expectations was high. They 5-5 now, 4-5-4, or whatever the case may be. And they went to an opportunity, when they looked like they was right there at the top of the mountain, getting ready to make some noise. They went to an opportunity, seemed like it's closing now. I think he got a disgruntled wide receiver and my man Diggs. His brother texted to say something via social media the other day. So, he not that pleasant. You still got KC out there. Philadelphia's only got one loss, but they got a rough patch going these next 4 games or so. And then they got to run into Dallas again. So, and speaking of Dallas, Dak is playing lights out right now since that loss to San Francisco. He's been playing lights out. Excuse me 1 second. Yeah, he's been playing lights out. So you got Dak and Dallas looking pretty good, and they in the hunt. So like I said, this week 10 is, I mean, this season has been very, very interesting. And back to Minnesota, like I said, I felt that they was in a rebuilding stage. They let Dalvin Cook go. They running back. Forget who they got over there taking his place now, but they're doing it. But and instead of looking like they were going through a rebuilding stage, Minnesota actually playing good ball. So they turned around when Kirk Cousins gets hurt. I'm like, okay, well, the Lions should be able to walk right into, naturally win division with ease, no competition. The Bears is, the Bears is the Bears. They're not really doing anything, and they've had Green Bay's card for the past few years now. So for the past couple of years, and they going through rebuilding stage. And Aaron Rodgers is, he hurt, he's sidelined right now, but he, went over to the Jets. And so it felt like it should be a cakewalk, but they got to play Minnesota still twice. And it's kind of interesting. So we'll see where the Lions end up at, after that's all said and done. But like I said, overall, man, the season. Oh, and not to mention, what is that? What is that? AFC East, AFC North. What division is that? With Pittsburgh and Baltimore and Cleveland and Cincinnati. Man, they over there beating each other up. I don't know who will come out of there and what they go look like by the time the playoffs come, because they haven't, they at it. Baltimore and Cleveland played a tight game, and Cleveland ended up walking away with a dub. And Baltimore was up, for the most of the game. So that's why I said this NFL season has been really exciting. Right now, still not looking like no clear-cut favorites. Those who came out the box looking like they was, world beaters, like including the Niners. They lost 3 in a row. They just won this past weekend, but they lost 3 in a row after blowing Dallas out. So this is gonna be great. We're getting down. Like I said, week 10 is just finished. So we're getting down to the last part of the season, and the meat, meat potatoes, type of dish, and we go see what happens with that. But I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to it, though. So I'm not sure who you all rock with. I rock with the Cowboys. I ain't gonna lie. And they not looking too bad right now. So it's just one of the better seasons as far as overall competition, as far as I'm concerned. NFL is like a lot more parity, so to speak. Kansas City is, naturally, when you have Super Bowl teams such as Kansas City, I think they been at 3 Super Bowls, 1, 2, within this little 5-year span, and they've been depleted, people plucking away from them, free agency, and then we lose a coach here and there, different things like that. So they're not necessarily a clear-cut favorite, but you can't count them out. So we go see what happens with that, But the thing that really, 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 really took over this weekend was this Michigan Jim Harbaugh and this sign stealing scandal. And so they played Saturday. Michigan played Penn State Saturday. They said this is the first true test for them because everybody been complaining about their strength of schedule wasn't that great, and which caused them to be, as far as the college football poll, going into the college football playoff poll, I think they got Michigan ranked number 3 now. They were ranked number 2 nationally, AP poll wise, but when the college football poll came out for the playoff tournament or whatever, they dropped them down to 3 or 4 or something like that. And a lot of it had to do, wasn't necessarily the eye test, is the strength of schedule, what they was really, focusing on. It came down to strength of schedule. So as they scheduled, so the Penn State was the big game for them. Penn State was ranked number 10, coming off they had a tough loss to Ohio State, but tough team. They still was ranked up there, top 10 team, and so they played this past Saturday, and looked like they was giving Michigan some problems. Michigan the first 2 series, they had a strong little rush going on, really couldn't do too much. After that second series, man, Michigan went back and made some adjustments. They made adjustments, and for the most part, man, it was ground and pound game for them. And they still were able to take control of the game. So it was more like a lot of people don't like that brand of football. I had a couple cats, man, colleagues of mine that were like, they're Michigan fans, but they like, well, they gonna have to do something different because that basically this past weekend, the Penn State game, I think they ran the ball like about 30 straight times or something like that. And a lot of people are like, well, that brand of football only work in the Big Ten. And so when they posed that question, I'm like, okay, I'm not exactly understanding what y'all mean that only work in the Big Ten. What I witnessed was 2 offensive possessions that didn't go well. That third possession came, they made adjustments, and the game changed dramatically. They went big, power ball, and this was all with Jim Harbaugh being sidelined. He's been suspended for these three games, a 3-game suspension due to this sign stealing scandal. Now you got a lot of, especially you got some Michigan alums, especially 2 that really are openly vocal about their displeasure with what's going on, and they more or less look at this as a witch hunt. Desmond Howard and Charles Woodson, and I watched the take with Desmond and Stephen A. And he spoke on he just talked about the game and what Michigan looks like, the trenches and different things like that. You get a chance, go check it out. I wished I had that clip. If I had it, I definitely would show it. But he obviously upset about this so-called quote unquote sign stealing scandal. And I'm gonna say this too. I'm not gonna make light of it. Okay, I'm a Michigan fan, even though this is no fan. I'm a Michigan fan, but and I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. If this was Ohio State, a Big Ten competitor, Alabama, anybody, I'll be like any other non-Michigan. I'm off with their heads. We know we want some form of justice, but here's the problem with that. Here's the problem that I have with this whole situation, and I'm not gonna make light like the sign stealing isn't a issue, because it is an issue. I was a big advocate of the Spygate thing with New England Patriots, and I think there was the St. Louis Rams at that time. I wanted blood, from New England Patriots, because I always felt they was cheating somehow anyway. But and like I said, but that would be, honestly, that would just be the competitive fan in me wanting the worst for them. But in real life, I'm looking at it like the rule is very vague as far as the Big Ten rule. Okay, I get it. And yes, if you get caught doing something that you're not supposed to be doing, it is a price to pay, and you should be punished. I have no problems with that. And that go for any team, anybody. Yes, I don't want Michigan, I didn't want them to suspend Jim Harbaugh, but yeah, they should be punished. But the problem that I have with this whole situation, no matter what, the failure for the Big Ten, I think his name Tony Petitti, the failure of the Big Ten commissioner Petitti just skipping over the due process. The NCAA is holding their own investigation just the same. And the funny thing about it, no matter how big you are, you run the Big Ten, but when it comes down to the NCAA and what goes on, you still, as the Big Ten conference president or what have you, you got to go to the NCAA and get approval for them to do anything that you want to do. So, but you decided to supersede. It was like almost like a mob mentality type of thing, because you're getting a lot of pressure from other coaches and fans and alumni from outside, in the Big Ten, and it was like a rush to judgment. So for me, at the end of the day, my biggest problem with that was the lack of due process. Now, as a black man growing up, as a black man, African man globally, that's a fear. Due process being skipped. You can't do that. How do you skip due process? And this is why we do No Fan. Like I said, we don't talk about the stuff you put on sports, because if you go to, and I've been watching them, you know, the sports centers and different other little sports venues and you know, the get ups and all those different things, first takes and all that. Nobody really talked about due process except for one person, and he finally spoke out, and that was Jim Harbaugh when they interviewed him today. He also considered Michigan should be a part of America's team. Now that's for the Cowboys, but I loved it. They asked him about his take, and he said, "Well, I don't have anything to say. You know, they got court Friday, and he said he wants to wait and follow due process." That was the only other person that I heard even mention due process. Due process is due process is important. Due process is not just about this sports, you know. Due process is, you know, for everybody, the common man or woman who gets in trouble. You go want due process. You don't want mob mentality. It's like, you know, that's how they used to go, you know, the sheriff would secretly, you know, leave the jail keys or the door open, and then you had that mob come in there and snatch the cat up out of there, and they're straining, you know, around the neck. That's not due process. And that's what I felt that Tony Petitti skipped over. But I got this. Let me see if I can get it on here. I'm adding on here real quick. Okay, there we go. All right. So where is it at? Boop. Or do we just want to do the whole thing? We do the whole thing. Nope. Okay, hold on. I got you. Just bear with me here. Bear with me. Okay. All right. I just gave you the whole screen. Let me see if I can get the sound on there.
Are you outraged?
No. I think that is totally on you. If you, and I think there's probably a few people watching right now that could connect maybe a few dots. Bruce Feldman wrote an amazing piece about this years ago.
Bear with me.
I don't know if you've seen that, but Bruce wrote just a deep dive. And I remember sharing with Bruce, this is probably 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm like, oh,
wow,
I can't get this share all this stuff, right? It's one of those just kind of unwritten. Oh, do I have a story? I mean, I played for the greatest sign stealer that ever lived.
Who?
I can't say that, Colin. I can't say who it is.
Hold on 1 second.
No, he wasn't a player. He was in the organization. He was unbelievable. He was a Unabomber. And he would spend time talking to his plants, and he figured it out. And he was the only place, college, pro, is the only one place in all of my years where I was like, wow,
oh my goodness,
this guy can really.
That.
And he's doing what everyone was doing, and that is you go to the opposing field and you watch the defensive coordinator and you write it all down.
Hold on.
And then it's like code, right? So I have all these signals, right? So when he does this or any of the code, and then I got to match it to the actual game tape, and then I got to figure out what the actual calls are, and then in real time I got to see what's actually going on, and then in real time I got to communicate to the coordinator. Who then
let me see if I'm gonna stop. Try to start this over.
There's so many avenues.
Man,
this isn't
crazy. What is volume? Okay.
Sign steal.
Just on the herd.
Are you outraged?
No. I think that is totally on you. If you, and I think there's probably a few people watching right now that could connect maybe a few dots. Bruce Feldman wrote an amazing piece about this years ago. I don't know if you've seen that, but Bruce wrote just a deep dive. And I remember sharing with Bruce, this is probably 2 or 3 years ago, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to share all this stuff, right? It's one of those just kind of unwritten. You don't love to talk about. Oh, do I have a story? I mean, I played for the greatest sign stealer that ever lived.
Who?
I can't say that, Colin. I can't say who it is.
Was he a player?
No, he wasn't a player. He was in the organization. He was unbelievable. He was a Unabomber, and he would spend time talking to his plants, and he figured it out. And he was the only place, college, pro, is the only one place in all of my years where I was like, wow, this guy can really do it. And he's doing what everyone was doing, and that is you go to the opposing field and you watch the defensive coordinator and you write it all down. And then it's like code, right? So I have all these signals, right? So when he does this or any of the code, and then I got to match it to the actual game tape. And then I got to figure out what the actual calls are. And then in real time, I got to see what's actually going on. And then in real time, I got to communicate to the coordinator, who then's got to communicate to the quarterback. I mean, there's so many avenues. This isn't banging a drum for a baseball player and like, oh, okay. Or Altuve wearing whatever he was wearing to tell him, you know, hey, if it beeps once, it's a fastball twice. Like, there are so many more mechanisms to make it happen in a football game in real time. There was only one place that could do it, and he did it unbelievably well. But even with that, how many plays out of 60 plays in a game?
3.
Yeah, maybe 3, maybe a blitz, you know, maybe like, okay, here comes a blitz. So we could block the blitz up and hit
And
it.
you got to get it through to the people fast.
Yes.
So let me ask you, one of the smartest players in league history, and you're a Sharpie, is Peyton Manning. So he was yelling Omaha. Did Omaha mean something different every week? Because he had to hide stuff.
Oh, he had to constantly change everything up, you know, and now he's going to kill me for saying this, and this is the answer. The answer is just simply to wear a wristband, right? You know, for an offensive play, just wear a wristband. I know Russell doesn't like wearing wristbands, but wear a wristband. And guess what? Sean Payton could go over, you know, play 2 or, you know, play 2, play 5, or, you know, whatever. So there's no signals. It's all there, and do it. And in fact, Peyton coaching his boy, Marshall's doesn't have 1 wristband. Marshall didn't have 2 wristbands. Marshall's got 3 wristbands because
Okay, I hope y'all was able to hear
plays.
that. I'm not sure.
That is so
Long story short, though, let me get my screen back together too. Come back to you all. Long story short, we had to get back to he's breaking down, you know, all the dynamics, all things, you know, real time, everything involved with trying to, you know, once you get these plays stolen. And roughly out of 60 plays, he say maybe 3, 5, you'll be able to actually utilize that during the game. Now, this is still not to say that those, you know, those advantages is not an advantage. And if you do get caught doing something that you're not supposed to do, this is not to say that you should be punished, but I still got to go back to due process. That's my biggest issue with this. And like I said, up until Jim Harbaugh earlier today, I didn't hear anybody else speak on that. And this is like several different commentators, sports reporters. My man Feinbaum got it out for he got a hard on for my man Harbaugh. He don't like Saban either, but he got a hard on for Harbaugh. And like I said again, nobody's talking about due process. You know, it's due process. And like I said again, as a black man, African man, you know, and whether we here in America or globally, man, that's the last thing in this world that you want to have people supersede. Just skip over due process. You know, like I said, you know, it was like a mob mentality type of situation. This is what they came up with. Like I said, the sheriff sitting there, he didn't fell asleep and left the keys on the table. Folks come in there, snatch dude up out of there. Next thing you know, he swinging from a tree. And that's what you get with these mob type situations. So, like I said, you know, this is gonna sound a little biased, but this is like I say this all the time. This is what I rock with. This is who I rock with. You know, I'm with it's a doctor that I watch. It's a doctor that I watch, and he talks about B1, and B1 means black first. And I was born this. I was born this before I became or affiliated with any other groups, any other religious groups, any other facet of life. This is what I came. So you don't want that process skipped over. We can't have that skipped over. And I applaud Jim Harbaugh for speaking out on that. The due process being skipped over and him wanting to wait until Friday to talk to the judge. So, you know, let due process play itself out. But in the meantime, oh my goodness, this guy Harbaugh doing all this little witch hunting, you know, do all the whole witch hunt, He's been making calculated moves that I think has just been incredible. And this guy will come out of here serving suspension. He served three games earlier this year. 3 games, the first 3 games, and now he's serving the last 3 games. But I think he go come out of this smelling like roses, at least as far as his recruiting goes. The University of Michigan football program, his kids, they got a new slogan going out, bet Michigan versus everybody. That Detroit versus everybody, that's where it come from. It come from Detroit versus everybody. Now it's Michigan versus everybody. Slogan flying off the shelves. And so they fly to Pennsylvania, right? They fly into Pennsylvania not knowing the outcome. They went to the Washington County court to see if they can get an injunction to, stave off the suspension. Unfortunately, the judge, Washington court judge, didn't want to decide on it that particular day on Saturday, elected to wait a week. Boom, boom, boom. That's where Friday's coming in. That's when they gonna make their decision. And so in the meantime, you got to select an interim coach. They need a coach. They need a coach. So at the beginning of the season, when he was suspended, them first 3 games, excuse me, he had 3 different assistant coaches take on the head coaching duties for each game. For the third game, I think he had my man Sharon Moore, the brother who's his offensive coordinator, take on the interim head coaching duty for the third game. So here we are in Penn State. They didn't flew in. They don't know what's going on. Then he get the word that he's not going to be able to coach. He can't be on the sidelines. So he got to stay at the house wherever he stayed. And who does he choose to take on the interim head coach position for the toughest game thus far of the season, with all the controversy, swirling around, about the signal stealing? He selects my man Sharon Moore. So this is OC. It's a young brother, very young. When you young in aspect of talking about the coaching game, and as far as being a head coach, well, they got some younger head coaches on a professional level. I think you had one guy that actually started becoming a head coach. He's at 34 years old or whatever. This is a white guy. But it's a young brother, man. Michigan never had a black head coach, even in the interim point. I don't remember it in my time here. So he selects Sharon Moore. Sharon, I think he played football, JC, and went to Oklahoma or whatever. He's offensive lineman or what have you. He was coaching. He started out, I think, with Michigan. He had several coaches positions or whatever. Let's see if we can pull him up real quick, man, and see if we can get this cat together. Where he at? Let me see. All right. He done made Wikipedia. He probably was already on there. Okay, so he's currently the offensive coordinator. Young man, 37. He's from Derby, Kansas. I'm not sure where that's at. His playing career, like I say, Butler CC. That's community. That's one of them JUCOs. I almost went there and played myself. Butler JUCO, and ended up playing at Oklahoma. He was a guard there. Now he's been coaching for a while, Louisville, Central Michigan, and then now he's over in Michigan. He's the offensive coordinator at 37 years old. That's big, and he's the head coach. Now, reason why I say I think Jim Harbaugh will come out of this smelling like roses. Do you realize what he did? Toughest game on the schedule this year. All the controversy swirling around about the sign stealing. He can't get there. He selected this young man, young African-American black coach, to be the interim head coach for the toughest game of the year with all that confusion going on in the back. And I'm gonna be honest with you. Everything he did, I think Jim would have did the same thing. As far as like I said, they ran the ball about 30 straight times in the second half. Let's see. What did what's the name end up with? Let's see if we can find them stats. Let me see if we can find them stats. Let's see if we can. Michigan Penn State stats. Let me see. Let's see. We get the box score. Yeah. Okay. So JJ McCartney was 7 out of 8 for 60 yards. Michigan won 24-15. The score is not indicative of actual the game. The score looks a lot closer than what the game really was. Yeah, Blake Corum carried the ball for 26 times. He had 145 yards. Donovan Edwards had 10 carries for 52 yards. And McCartney had 8 himself for 34 yards. No one receiver had over 2 catches. Again, like I said, he only threw for 60 yards. Michigan imposed their will on Penn State. And this was, and I'm telling you, Penn State defensive line, man, they firing off the ball. They in the backfield. But this is what Michigan did, man. And we all seen, I'm sure everybody's seen the interview that he had to get a few bleeps or whatever. The interview that my man Sharon Moore gave after it was a very emotional interview. And it was, I understood it because in light of the situation. Now, I don't know if he's looking at it in the eyes that I'm looking at it in as well, because what Deion Sanders say, this is bigger than football. But that was big, man. You got a young brother, head coaching. This is who you choose to take and play a coach that the recruiting visits gonna be like now. Man, the shelves are stacked. The shelves are stacked at the University of Michigan, and I can't see them getting. I mean, just a plethora of players coming in. Because the majority, this is not no knock on any other athletes, but the majority of young guys are going to see young black males, and that sent to me. That was a great message that he sent out. If I had a son, that was college, of college age, and he was highly recruited and Michigan was on the list. And after I just watched that, oh, bro, you're not going to tell me where you're going. I'm telling you where you're going. You're going to Michigan. That was a chess move. That was a chess move. And it was a big move. And like I said, I think he go come out of this walking away smelling like roses. And it was, like I said, for me, again, it's the due process. He's the only player, person, coach, sportscaster, news media person that I've heard use the word due process. And due process, again, is something that shouldn't be overlooked. We can't handle our differences that are on mob mentality. And that's what I felt that, this is what they done. But like I said, overall, man, kudos to Jim Harbaugh, the University of Michigan, the young men, Sharon Moore. And again, I don't want y'all to walk away from here or, and think I'm being one-sided on this. Like I said, if this was Ohio State, yeah, I want blood. Penn State, I want blood. Michigan State, I want blood. But that would just be me as a devoted, Michigan fan being, a fan. But the non-fan, the non-groupie, the non-slappy in me, that's what we stand for here at No Fan Sports Podcast. The sign stealing thing is some, this is a witch hunt. I'm not sure whose cornflakes he pissed in, Jim Harbaugh, but they not liking and they not feeling this man. And I've never met him, never talked to him. Every now and then people do things that make me want to put them on my bucket list, and he just arrived on my bucket list. I would love to sit down and talk with him. If I get a good hour of conversation with him, would love to talk to him. Just to, pick his brains a little bit, see what type of person he is. I think he was born in Pennsylvania or whatever, but at the end of the day, excuse me. At the end of the day, again, like I said, I just think they're gonna be coming out of there, smelling like roses, man. He's been making some very, very strong, calculated moves. Very strong, calculated moves. And in light of being suspended, calculated press conferences, conversation, spoke on due process, and the placing of Sharon Moore as your interim head coach, biggest game of the year with all the scandals swirling around, man. That was just genius. That was just genius. But like I said, I don't want you guys to walk away from here thinking or feeling that I don't think Michigan or Jim Harbaugh should be punished. If they stole, and that's another thing too. Everybody just, we haven't gotten any of the facts out publicly. Even though they kept saying that, Tony Petitti and the Big Ten feel like they have enough information to go ahead, the reason why they made their decision. But as far as outside of them, we haven't received any, how did y'all come up to this? How did you prove that this happened? There's no evidence as of yet. Like I said, the due process has just been totally skipped over. They just did mob mentality, and that's my argument with this. So again, yeah, Michigan should be punished. Jim Harbaugh should be punished, but let due process, do due process. Now, it's the time I want to take you into my segment, man. This is the flip side of the game, man. What we do here over here at No Fan, we have a little simple segment. Oh, what's that there? You hear that in the background? I don't own the rights to that. Where's my stuff at? That's the track called Nobody. It's a track called Nobody by Nas. And this is part of the show, man. We like to call it, we stay on code no matter what, and we always keep it a buck. So the Fugees had decided to get back together and go on a little tour. They decided to get back together and get on a tour. And what was really holding them up was the fact that, Lauryn Hill, she walked away from the game some years ago. And, back in the day when I still used to watch a lot of them little award shows and different things, I used to always ask my man Wyclef, what about a Fugees reunion and such, and everybody begging and pleading for Lauryn Hill, come on back out here, so we can do this Fugees thing. Now, the funny thing about it is, I don't know nothing about this because I've never went to a Fugees concert or a Lauryn Hill concert, but rumor has it, and I guess is well known that she would be extremely late to a lot of her shows. And then as some people even thought she came off kind of arrogant about, not really giving them excuses why she was coming so late, but she was coming late to these shows, and a lot of people was complaining about it. As much as they loved her music. A lot of people was complaining about her being late, So just recently, I find out that Miss Hill has been late to a few of these current shows on this latest tour. And they ragging her. I even watch, like I said, it's about 3 people that I watch out here regularly, and I watch their podcasts and listen to them, and I really like. I would love all 3 of them on my bucket list, and I would love them to get together. I think they fit. Each person holds a different lane, but they even and 2 of them have actually kind of had words with one another, but they since reconciled that. But they all chasing that same common goal. That common goal. That's what they own. So if just truth be told, I'm heavy into this stuff. I read a lot, and I really get that a lot of that the Black issues like that, should I say, African issues, are really I hold dear to my heart. I've had to live like this, all my life. So when this Lauryn Hill thing, popped up again, and everybody was complaining, I'm sitting here listening. I'm like, this is how this is, and I can speak. This is how you know a fan or a groupie or a slappy. This is a perfect example of someone's just a fan. They not paying attention to any of your analytics, your resolve. They're not really listening to what you're saying. They just admiring your work and only listening or getting little pieces of it. They're not able to grab the substance that you actually kicking out as a person or as an individual. They're not grabbing hold of none of that. All that's going in one ear and going out the other ear. They just want to be entertained. I love Lauryn Hill. First, let me say this too. If you got a problem, everybody say Lauryn Hill, she late or whatever, don't go. If you've been to one of her concerts in the past and she was late showing up, and you going to these current Fugees concerts and Lauryn Hill is there, don't go. Can I ask you this? If Lauryn Hill didn't get an okay to say, okay, I go on tour, would there even be a tour for the Fugees? And this is no knock at Price and Wyclef, but folks want to see Lauryn. I'm not gonna say she carried the group, but she was a big part of the group. Probably, and may have been the biggest third of the group. Like I said, long story short, though, it wouldn't be a Fugees tour if she wouldn't have said, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and go. Let's do it. So she out here. I don't know if the timing was like that or not, because like I said, I was just playing you a track by Nas called Nobody. Let's get that beat going again so you can hear it. This is Nas, Nobody. What album is? I think this is King's Disease 3. I think it is. The name of the track is called Nobody. So when I first heard, the album is the bomb. Anybody follow Nas, that album cold. This last project has been out cold. Not to say that any of his Nas is Nas. I don't know where y'all rank him at, or I rank him, or how I rank him. He up there. He definitely top 10 as far as I'm concerned. Nas is Nas, one of the coldest out here to ever do it. So when I listened to the album, man, I was, going through it track for track. And then we got to that Nobody. And I heard Lauryn Hill in her verse. It wasn't, I got excited because, I was excited when I first heard she was coming back and going out on tour with them. And I got excited when I found that. I'm like, oh, wow. She didn't drop the verse on here. I'm like, Nas done pulled her out and got her on stage and got her to drop a verse. So I had to go, and really dig into the verse. And I'm bringing all this up to say this. Y'all see it, Lauryn been coming late. So like the cat that I told you, I watched a few cats online, and then, I went to this comment section and I was like, well, if you follow Lauryn Hill and you really, follow her, you'll know that she just did a track with Nas called Nobody. And if you had listened to her verse on this track, Nobody, she's already addressed her lateness. So we're gonna read her verse. And I'm gonna let you get the groove again. There's some place to be nobody. This is Nobody. Okay. So this is her verse. It goes, all my time has been focused on my freedom now. Why would I join them when I know that I can beat them now? They put their words on me and they can eat them now. That's probably why they keep on telling me I'm needed now. They tried to box me out while taking what they want from me. I spent too many years living too uncomfortably, making room for people who didn't like the labor or wanted the spoils, greedy, selfish behavior. Now let me give it to you balanced and with clarity. I don't need to turn myself into a parody. I don't do this shit you do for popularity. Parody. Popularity. Parody. Popularity. What they call that? One of them double entendres or third person, what they call that? What they call that in the rap game? But we know what she's talking about. Okay? And for those of you, a humorous or satirical imitation of a serious piece of literature. That's parody. And she's not doing it for popularity. Okay, let's go on. Let's finish this up. They clearly didn't understand when I said I get out apparently. And she left. My awareness is like K.New in the Matrix. I'm saving souls and y'all complaining about my lateness. Let's go back to that. My awareness is like K.New in the Matrix. I'm saving souls and y'all complaining about my lateness. Okay. Now take that back up to, a few verses before. I don't need to turn myself into a parody. I don't do this shit for popularity. But we go back to the beginning. All my time has been focused on my freedom now. Why would I join them when I know that I can beat them now? This might be a little bit too deep for the fan. I think this is too deep for the groupie. This is too deep for the slappy. Because that's just moronic. Do you understand what this young lady just said? Where's it at? What'd she say? Probably one mafia, maybe okay. Where is it at? What she talk about a lateness? She's trying to save souls. Where is it at? Hold on. Let me get you. Okay. We'll get back to that. But anyway, so she say, here it is. I'm saving souls and y'all complaining about my lateness. They clearly didn't understand when I said I get out apparently. My awareness is like K.New in the Matrix. I'm saving souls and y'all complaining about my lateness. Let's finish it up. Now it's illegal for someone to walk in greatness. They want the same but they don't want to take the risk. Now the world will get to see its own reflection, and the anointed can pursue their own direction. And if you're wrong and you're too proud to hear the correction, walk into the hole you dug yourself, fuck a projection. See me in my freedom, taking all my land back. Let's repeat that verse. See me in my freedom, taking all my land back. They sent a lot against me, thinking I'll just stand back. I got my legs beneath me. I got my hands back. A lot of people sabotaged. They couldn't stand that. I turned the other cheek. I took blow after blow. There's so much crisis in the world because you reap what you sow. When you keep what you know is meant for someone else, the ditch you dig for them, you might just end up yourself. I'm in the secret place. I keep a sacred space. They keep showing their hands, but I keep hiding their face. If I'm a messenger, you block me, then you block the message. So aggressive, the world you made is what you left with. Pride and ego over love, in truth is fucking reckless. Y'all niggas got death wish. The stupid leaves me breathless. Again, that's Lauryn Hill's verse on a track that she did with Nas titled Nobody. I always say this, if you didn't catch me live and you catch this podcast later, just let me know that you a day late and a dollar short. Tell me what you think. Leave a comment. So, and if you got something to say about it, I would love not just the sports aspect on the first end, but this back end and this Lauryn Hill. I would love to talk to someone, hear some feedback on that. But this is a perfect example of what I consider. This is no fan groupie slappy. The verse that she put together spoke volumes. If you're a Lauryn Hill fan and you really respect her work, you'll understand. I'm not saying she's supposed to be late or she should be late. I don't know why she was late. But if you ask me, I think she addressed that being late in her verse on Nobody. Why would I join them now? All my time has been focused on my freedom now. Y'all still want to be entertained. Hey, I go by New, man. Just a simple NEW. Please, if you checking this out on the channel too, hit that like, hit the subscribe button. All the descriptions, check us out on all the other little DMs, Instagram, things like that. If you'd like to help the channel out, just a little link in there for donations and different things like that, so we can get out here and start doing things. We build in here. Got a great team, great folks around me trying to do some things, and we just moving forward. We moving forward. Like Lauren, we moving forward. Hail to the victors, though. Hail to the victors. I'll get at y'all later. Like I said, man, I go by New. Peace.